Hi, my name is AJ Gerard from StrobeAdvice. Today, I will show you how to convert a Hella KL700 24 volt to 12 volt operation. This process is exactly the same for converting a 12 volt KL700 to a 24 volt KL700. So the first thing to do is remove the outer dome of the beacon that you want to take the motor from. So to convert the power supply, you'll need to replace the motor and the halogen bulb. The only tool you will need for this is a screwdriver with a small Phillips head screw. There you can see that the reflector assembly on each model is exactly the same, this one being the 12 volt and this one being the 24 volt. So today we will be converting the 24 volt here to a 12 volt light. This one here, the 12 volt, currently doesn't work as the little brushes on the reflector assembly have worn down, therefore not transmitting any power to the halogen bulb. So we will use this one as a parts beacon and this one as the conversion beacon. So this one, remove if you have the cigarette lighter cable, or if you've got a 3 volt model, the power supply cable. It's not, you don't have to, but it's just easier to work with if you do remove it. So just place that to the side. We'll turn it over. I'll actually put the lens back on it so I can place it upside down and not have it roll away. So there you can see the motor with its power supply cables. The blue wire is the ground cable and the red wire is the positive cable. And they're hooked into a little terminal where the cigarette lighter plug or pigtail wire was connected into. So there it is. So we'll go ahead and remove the motor. So in order to do that, you need to remove the lens, and on the reflector assembly, remove these 2 screws either side of the transmission control unit. Just lost a little. This one is actually an older model, and it has the clip mount reflector assembly, as opposed to the newer model which has a screw mount reflector assembly, and I've just found a clip. This one is actually got broken clips, so they tend to fall out quite easily. So we'll go ahead now and unscrew the 2 screws. So in order to do that, it's best to have the screws lined up with this little cutout in the reflector assembly, so it's easier to get to. And you don't have to wear gloves. I'm just wearing them so that if I touch the reflector assembly of the bulb, it won't mark them or scratch them. Go ahead now and remove the 2 screws, and this will disconnect the motor essentially from the reflector assembly. So you'll want to do this process on the other one too, which I'll show you in just a second. So when you unscrew the first screw and loosen this one, the motor will drop down. So getting that screw out, the easiest way is just to tip it upside down and it'll just fall out. So just place them to the side and hang on to them. Next, in the last stage to remove the motor is to remove the transmission belts. The KL700 features 2 transmission belts rather than just one, as do most, if not all, of Hella's halogen rotating beacons. And this is actually quite tricky, so you will need yep, there you go. And most of this spring back, as you see, the clip here. This one is actually broken, it's missing one side of the clip, so just try and wedge it upwards if you can, and there we go. So therefore, then the motor will drop out, and we'll just remove the power cables. And actually, I've just remembered, they have a little clip, so you need to push down on it, push down on that little clip, and pull them out. It was easy last time. Just bear with me for a second. There we go. There we go. So now, there is the 12 volt motor. It's a pretty simple power supply, motor, and the transmission control unit. It's encased in a plastic housing with a screw on the bottom if you'd like to take it apart. We will not be doing that today. All we'll be doing is putting this motor and this bulb into this beacon to make it a 12 volt, make it operate in 12 volts rather than 24 volts. So on this one, we do virtually the same thing. So we remove the power supply cables. It's pretty easy to remove, just place that to the side. Then we remove these two screws surrounding the motor. And then we just remove the transmission belt from the transmission control unit. You might need to prop the motor up again as it falls downward when you remove the screws. You might need to pop it up so it's easy to get the transmission belts off. There we go. Just remove the two housings. It's also good to take a photo or memorize which wire goes where, because there's actually no markers telling you which one's positive and which one's negative. I've already taken a photo prior, and I can remember that the positive wire is to the right of the circuit board there, when the motor casing is at the bottom. So if you see like that, negative, positive. You just have the two little clips on the cables so you don't pull them out accidentally. There we go. It's been a bit tricky. Bear with me for a second. You also don't want to break this little cable. There we go. So now we have the 12 volt motor and the 24 volt motor. So we'll place the 24 volt motor to the side as we don't need it anymore, and we'll focus on the 12 volt motor, which we will then reinstall in the base assembly. So we go ahead and we place the motor in the assembly. It's not going all the way up. Why isn't it going all the way up? Just check something. 1 second. Yeah, both the reflector assembly plates are the same size, so it shouldn't be a problem, but it turns out it is. There we go. Must have had to have been inserted a certain way. Okay, so we'll go ahead and see if I can turn it around so I can put the positive on the side it's got to be on. Yep, excellent. Go ahead now and plug in the positive cable to the positive socket. Yep. The negative. There we go. And now we'll screw it down. I like to use its screws that I placed here. You may also need to prop the motor up, as I've just realised it's just fallen out. Go. Is that in? No, that's not in. There, that's in. Now it should stay up without falling down, without me holding it up. There we go. Make sure the screws are tight, but not over tight. Now we replace the transmission belt, or transmission belts actually I should say, and this is actually quite a time-consuming process. Just bear with me for a second. I will leave the camera running so you have an idea of how long it may take to put the transmission belts back onto the transmission control unit. Go. Motor screws. So you want to line both belts up with the two little grooves in the transmission control unit. So I'm trying now to pinch the belt into its little groove on the transmission control unit and then slipping it around the reflector assembly. It may take a couple of goes to get it fully on. Fully on. Go, that's on. I'll just straighten it up, twist it. Yep, that's good. And I'll just go ahead and put the other transmission belt on, which I probably should have done first, so I don't knock the bottom one off, but hopefully I won't. This way. I knew it. I've knocked the other one off. Oh well. Knock this one off too, because then it hopefully should be a bit easier. And don't worry if you get it twisted when you put it on. That's easy. It's easy to just straighten out once you've got it on. You just want to make sure you get it on first, and then you can even out any twists that may have occurred. So there we go. We've got that one on. So now I'll go ahead and try and put the bottom one on again. So this method's also, this is how you replace the transmission belt when it wears out. This is the same method you've got to do, so it is actually quite tricky. I seem to have got it on. I'll just even out the creases that have occurred. And I'm not trying to make it look hard. This is actually quite difficult. Oh, went to straighten out a crease and it snapped back on. Oh, stay there, I don't want you to come off. Should have just left it there, bugger it. I'll get the bottom one on. Oh no, I'll get the top one on, otherwise I might knock it off. There, got it. There we go. Okay, now do the bottom one. No, don't come off. Don't come off. There we go. Finally. Straight, no twists. No. There we go. Transmission belts are finally on. Okay, now we'll go and swap the 24 volt globe for the 12 volt globe that's in this light. Move the screwdriver to the side. Oh, no, it's scratch. Okay, so you remove the metal piece here, Just slide that back. It should be easy, but sometimes it can be a little difficult. And then slide this little metal arm here downward until it flicks out of this. There's a little hole there. And then just swing that up and the globe will come straight out. So this here is the 12 volt globe. It's a brand new Nava globe. I bought it for this light when I originally thought all it needed was a new globe, but when in fact it actually needed a new reflector assembly as the little brushes here had worn down, therefore the bulb was not conducting any power. So this is a brand new globe, so I'll go ahead now and take the globe out of the 24 volt beacon. There we go. Same procedure, slide down the metal arm. This one's actually a bit hard. There we go. Take that out. We put this one in. Lining up the two metal points here, or one of the points with the hole there, and making sure they meet up correctly. We slide the metal arm down to hold it in place, and push this arm here into that little hole, and that can actually be quite tricky because it's quite hard to do. Now, there we go. Then we put the metal piece back on, and there we have it. I have successfully transformed a 24 volt Hella KL700 to operate on 12 volts. So now go ahead and replace the lens. And there you have it. The label may say 24 volts, but this is now a 12 volt functional beacon. I will now put the 24 volt pieces back into this one, but I'll do that later, as it's not relevant to today's video. But that's how you convert a Hella KL700 and various other models like a KL800, KL710 and KL7000 to 24 volts or 12 volts, depending on what your application requires, if the beacon you have is opposite to those. So now we have this one converted. You will see a review of this beacon in the coming weeks. And thanks for watching this video. Please feel free to like, comment and subscribe. And we will see you in our next video in the not too distant future. And here is the Hella KL700 that I just successfully converted to 12 volts. Thanks for watching and have a nice day.